Yeah, that's right. And I get to set up stuff while we're waiting. Ooh, pew, pew, pew. Do 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 do. What was I doing? Right, I was muting some channels. Any of them likely to talk? Ouch. Oh, I was looking at this other channel I belong to, and somebody messaged something on it like a week ago, and no, and he did a at here. Nobody responded to him. That's all. And yeah. Now there's a chance they have like channels in there I can't see, but that seems unlikely because this individual's been making whole new servers instead, just to hide from individuals. Oh well. Hello world and all that. Oh, and Steam. I am not available. That's right. Good. That is well. I closed the window. They didn't seem to be too loud, but you never know with those jackanapes. Well, they're not really jackanapes, but I thought about it for a second, and would that experience be the same out there if it was quiet? If there wasn't anything? Like just the meat and not the surroundings with it. No, so imagine. Sure, let's try this again. Imagine the festival outside, just right there. Imagine that festival without the music at all, just the stands. Would it be the same? I kind of think, come to think of it, maybe it'd be all right because all the noise and the bustle from the people would make it sound more organic rather than whatever thunderous stuff was going on. Well, I've been there, and it actually pretty much was. But anyway, getting all ugh. And the sound of all those, it's all those people just blundering around oblivious. Brrr. Not a fan. Yeah, if you want to do it, it's going to have to be today after all, right? Well, I hope Montreth shows up because I'm feeling a little silly otherwise. Give her another, like, I'm gonna start at 5 after and feel a little ridiculous. But all right. Hmm. So reminds me. So you see that I have. So I'm just pointing out my OBS thing. You see, I've just got like a slideshow, and I've got some text over it. So um, it's that easy to set up. So hopefully you've got yourself some image. I mean, I've got a handful of pictures. We can rifle through the cat viewers collection, see if there's some that suit you. The font is, I just picked something that wasn't Arial. I wanted to get it done and out of the way as soon as I could. That's why it is what it is. And I put a little outline on it so that it shows up even over a dark background. Because hooray. Anyway, it's that time. You have waited enough. I hope it pleases. Chapter 3. Four seas and 1,000 mountains all bow to submit. From ninefold darkness, 10 species' names are removed. Now we were speaking of the handsome Monkey King's triumphant return to his home country. After slaying the monstrous King of Havoc and wresting from him his huge scimitar, he practiced daily with the little monkeys the art of war, teaching them how to sharpen bamboos for making spears, file wood for making swords, arrange flags and banners, go on patrol, advance or retreat, and pitch camp. For a long time he played thus with them. Suddenly he grew quiet and sat down, thinking out loud to himself. The game we are playing here may turn out to be something quite serious. Suppose we disturb the rulers of humans or of fowls and beasts, and they become offended. Suppose that they say these military exercises of ours are subversive, and raise an army to destroy us. How can we meet them with our bamboo spears and our wooden swords? We must have sharp swords and fine halberds. But what can be done at this moment? When the monkeys heard this, they were all alarmed. The great king's observation is very sound, they said, but where can we obtain these things? As they were speaking, 4 older monkeys came forward, 2 female monkeys with red buttocks, and 2 bareback gibbons. Coming to the front, they said, Great king, to be furnished with sharp-edged weapons is a very simple matter. How is it simple? Asked Wukong. The 4 monkeys replied, East of our mountain, across 200 miles of water, is the boundary of the Aole country. In that country, there is a king who has numberless men and soldiers in his city, and there are bound to be all kinds of metalworks there. If the great king goes there, he can either buy weapons or have them made. Then you can teach us how to use them for the protection of our mountain, and this will be the stratagem for assuring ourselves of perpetuity. When Wukong heard this, he was filled with delight. Play here, all of you, he said. Let me make a trip. Dear Monkey King, he quickly performed his cloud somersault and crossed the 200 miles of water in no time. On the other side, he did indeed discover a city with broad streets and a huge marketplace. And huge marketplaces, countless homes, and numerous arches. Under the clear sky and bright sun, people were coming and going constantly. Wukong thought to himself, there must be ready-made weapons around here, but going down there to buy a few pieces from them is not as good a bargain as acquiring them by magic. He therefore made the magic sign and recited a spell. Facing the ground on the southwest, he took a deep breath and then blew it out. At once it became a mighty wind, hurtling pebbles and rocks through the air. It was truly terrifying. Thick clouds in vast formation moved over the world. Black fog and dusky vapor darkened the earth. Waves churned in seas and rivers, affrighting fishes and crabs. Bows broke in mountain forests, wolves and tigers taking flight. Traders and merchants were gone from stores and shops. The best bargain is free. No single man was seen at sundry marts and malls. The king retreated to his chamber from the royal court. Officials, martial and civil, returned to their homes. This wind toppled Buddha's throne of 1,000 years and shook to its foundations the 5 Phoenix Tower. He is getting up to hijinks. The wind arose and separated the king from his subjects in the Aole country. Throughout the various boulevards and marketplaces, every family bolted the doors and windows, and no one dared go outside. Wukong then lowered the direction of his cloud and rushed straight through the imperial gate. He found his way to the armory, knocked open the doors, and saw that there were countless weapons inside. Scimitars, spears, swords, halberds, battle axes, scythes, whips, rakes, drumsticks, drums, bows, arrows, forks, and lances. Every kind was available. Highly pleased, Wukong said to himself, "Hi there, how you doing, Crazy Crow?" "Doing all right. Hope you're doing good too." Highly pleased, Wukong said to himself, How many pieces can I possibly carry by myself? I better use the magic of body division to transport them. Dear Monkey King. He plucked a handful of hairs, chewed them to pieces in his mouth, and spat them out. Reciting the spell, he cried, "Change!" They changed into thousands of little monkeys, who snatched and grabbed the weapons. What are you doing? There we go. Those that were stronger took 6 or 7 pieces. The weaker ones, 2 or 3 pieces, and together they emptied out the armory. Wukong then mounted the cloud and performed the magic of displacement by calling up a great wind, which carried all the little monkeys back to their home. We tell you now about the various monkeys, both great and small, who were playing outside the cave of the Flower Fruit Mountain. They suddenly heard the sound of wind and saw in midair a huge horde of monkeys approaching, the sight of which made them all flee in terror and hide. In a moment, Wukong lowered his cloud and, shaking himself, collected the pieces of hair back onto his body. All the weapons were piled in front of the mountain. "Little ones," he shouted, "come and receive your weapons." Gonna be hard to get a story if you're muted, but it is what it is. It's nice to see you again, dude. The monkeys looked and saw Wukong standing alone on level ground. They came running to kowtow and asked what happened. Wukong then recounted to them how he had made use of the mighty wind to transport the weapons. After expressing their gratitude, well, I appreciate that too, by the way. I really do. The monkeys all went to grab at the scimitars and snatch at the swords, to wield the axes and scramble for spears, to stretch the bows and mount the arrows. Shouting and screaming, they played all day long. The following day, they marched in formation as usual. Assembling the monkeys, Wukong... Oh yeah, by the way, you should be excited about the new Satisfactory thing coming up. It should be 10 days now. I know I'm looking forward to it. There'll be a story. The following day, they marched in formation as usual. Assembling the monkeys, Wukong found that there were 47,000 of them. This assembly greatly impressed all the wild beasts of the mountain. Wolves, insects, tigers, leopards, mouse deer, fallow deer, river deer, foxes, wild cats, badgers, lions, elephants, apes, bears, antelopes, boars, musk oxen, chamois, green one-ear waff. First I said green one-horn buffaloes, wild hares, and giant mastiffs. Led by the various demon kings of no fewer than 72 caves, they all came to pay homage to the Monkey King. Henceforth, they brought annual tributes and answered the roll call made every season. Some of them joined in the maneuvers, Others supplied provisions in accordance with their rank. In an orderly fashion, they made the entire flower fruit mountain as strong as an iron bucket or a city of metal. The various demon kings also presented metal drums, colored banners, and helmets. The hurly-burly of marching and drilling went on day after day. This sounds a little grim. While the handsome Monkey King was enjoying all this, he suddenly said to the multitude, "You have become adept with the bow and arrow and proficient in the use of weapons. But this scimitar of mine is truly cumbersome, not at all to my liking. What can I do?" Ooh, adult's craft. So, tell me about that, if you don't mind. No, tell her about it too. The 4 elder monkeys came forward and memorialized. The great king is a divine sage, and therefore it is not fit for him to use an earthly weapon. We do not know, however, whether the great king is able to take a journey through water. "Since I have known the way," said Wukong, "I have the ability of 72 transformations. The cloud somersault has unlimited power. I am familiar with the magic of body concealment and the magic of displacement." It's true, she does like punching trees more than I do. "I can find my way to heaven, or I can enter the earth. I can walk past the sun and the moon without casting a shadow, and I can penetrate stone and metal without hindrance. Water cannot drown me, nor fire burn me. Is there any place I can't go to?" "It's a good thing that the great king possesses such powers," said the 4 monkeys, "for the water below this sheet iron bridge of ours flows directly into the dragon palace of the Eastern Ocean. If you are willing to go down there, great king, you will find the old dragon king, from whom you may request some kind of weapon. Won't that be to your liking?" Hearing this, Wukong said with delight, "Let me make the trip." "Dear Monkey King," he jumped to the bridgehead and employed the magic of water restriction. Making the magic sign with his fingers, he leaped into the waves, which parted for him, and he followed the waterway straight to the bottom of the Eastern Ocean. As he was walking, he suddenly ran into a yaksha on patrol. Yeah, okay, I did have the thing under it. Who stopped him with the question, "What divine sage is this who comes pushing through the water? Speak plainly so that I can announce your arrival." Wukong said, "I am the heaven-born sage, Sun Wukong, of the Flower Fruit Mountain, a near neighbor of your old Dragon King. How is it you don't recognize me?" When the yaksha heard this, he hurried back to the Water Crystal Palace to report. "Great King," he said, "there is outside a heaven-born sage of the Flower Fruit Mountain named Sun Wukong. He claims that he is a near neighbor of yours, and he is about to arrive at the palace." That sounds complicated in a way. I have no idea how this is even working. Aoguang, the Dragon King of the Eastern Ocean, arose immediately, accompanied by dragon sons and grandsons, shrimp soldiers, and crab generals. He came out for the reception. "High Immortal," he said, "please come in." They went into the palace for proper introduction, and after offering Wukong the honored seat and tea, the king asked, "When did the High Immortal become accomplished in the way, and what kind of divine magic did he receive?" Wukong said, "Since the time of my birth, I have left the family to practice self-cultivation. I have now acquired a birthless and deathless body. Recently, I have been teaching my children how to protect our mountain cave, but unfortunately, I am without an appropriate weapon. I have heard that my noble neighbor, who has long enjoyed living in this green jade palace and its shell portals, must have many divine weapons to spare. I came specifically to ask for one of them." When the Dragon King heard this, he could hardly refuse, so he ordered a perch commander to bring out a long-handled scimitar and presented it to his visitor. "Old monkey doesn't know how to use a scimitar," said Wukong. "I beg you to give me something else." The Dragon King then commanded a whiting lieutenant, together with an eel porter, to carry out a 9-pronged fork. Jumping down from his seat, Wukong took hold of it and tried a few thrusts. He put it down, saying, "Light, much too light, and it doesn't suit my hand. I beg you to give me another one." "I am mortal," said the Dragon King, laughing. "Won't you even take a closer look? This fork weighs 3,600 pounds. "It doesn't suit my hand," Wukong said. "It doesn't suit my hand." The Dragon King was becoming rather fearful. He ordered a bream admiral and a carp brigadier to carry out a giant halberd weighing 7,200 pounds. When he saw this, Wukong ran forward and took hold of it. He tried a few thrusts and parries and then stuck it in the ground, saying, "It's still light, much too light." The old Dragon King was completely unnerved. "I am mortal," he said. "There's no weapon in my palace heavier than this halberd." Laughing, Wukong said, "As the old saying goes, who worries about the Dragon King's lacking treasures? Go and look some more, and if you find something I like, I'll offer you a good price." "There really aren't any more here," said the Dragon King. As they were speaking, the Dragon Mother and her daughter slipped out and said, "Great King, we can see that this is definitely not a sage with meager abilities. Inside our ocean treasury is that rare piece of rare magic iron by which the depth of the heavenly river is fixed. These past few days, the iron has been glowing with a strange and lovely light. Could this be a sign that it should be taken out to meet this sage?" "That," said the Dragon King, "was the measure with which the great Yu fixed the depths of the river and oceans when he conquered the flood. It's a piece of magic iron, but what use could be... Woof! But of what use could it be to him?" "Let's not be concerned with whether he could find any use for it," said the Dragon Mother. "Let's give it to him, and he can do whatever he wants with it. The important thing is to get him out of this palace." The old Dragon King agreed and told Wukong the whole story. "Take it out and let me see it," said Wukong. Waving his hands, the Dragon King said, "We can't move it. We can't even lift it. The High Immortal must go there himself to take a look." "Where is it?" asked Wukong. "Take me there." The Dragon King accordingly... Oh, somebody's shouting outside. The Dragon King accordingly led him to the center of the ocean treasury, where all at once they saw 1,000 shafts of golden light. Pointing to the spot, the Dragon King said, "That's it, the thing that is glowing." Wukong girded up his clothes and went forward to touch it. It was an iron rod more than 20 feet long and as thick as a barrel. Using all his might, he lifted it with both hands, saying, "It's a little too long and too thick. It would be more serviceable if it were somewhat shorter and thinner." Hardly had he finished speaking when the treasure shrank a few feet in length and became a layer thinner. "Smaller still would be even better," said Wukong, giving it another bounce in his hands. Again, the treasure became smaller. Highly pleased, Wukong took it out of the ocean treasury to examine it. He found a golden hoop at each end with solid black iron in between. Immediately adjacent to one of the hoops was the inscription, "The compliant golden hooped rod, weight 13,500 pounds. He thought to himself in secret delight. This treasure, I suppose, must be most compliant with one's wishes. As he walked, he was deliberating in his mind and murmuring to himself, bouncing the rod in his hands. Shorter and thinner still would be marvelous. By the time he took it outside, the rod was no more than 20 feet in length and had the thickness of a rice bowl. See how he displayed his power now! He wielded the rod to make lunges and passes, engaging in mock combat all the way back to the Water Crystal Palace. The old Dragon King was so terrified that he shook with fear, and the dragon princes were all panic-stricken. Sea turtles and tortoises drew in their necks. Fishes, shrimps, and crabs all hid themselves. Wukong held the treasure in his hands and sat in the Water Crystal Palace. Laughing, he said to the Dragon King, I am indebted to my good neighbor for his profound kindness. He's being very scary. Please don't mention it, said the Dragon King. This piece of iron is very useful, said Wukong, but I have one further statement to make. What sort of statement does the High Immortal wish to make? Asked the Dragon King. Wukong said, Had there been no such iron, I would have let the matter drop. Now that I have it in my hands, I can see that I am wearing the wrong kind of clothes to go with it. What am I to do? If you have any martial apparel, you might as well give me some too. I would thank you most heartily. This, I confess, is not in my possession, said the Dragon King. Wukong said, A solitary guest will not disturb two hosts. Even if you claim that you don't have any, I shall never walk out of this door. Let the High Immortal take the trouble of going to another ocean, said the Dragon King. He might turn up something there. To visit 3 homes is not as convenient as sitting in one, said Wukong. I beg you to give me one outfit. I really don't have one, said the Dragon King, for if I did, I would have presented it to you. Is that so? Said Wukong. Let me try the iron on you. High Immortals, the Dragon King said nervously, don't ever raise your hand. Don't ever raise your hand. Let me see whether my brothers have any, and we'll try to give you one. Where are your honored brothers? Asked Wukong. They are, said the Dragon King, Aokin, Dragon King of the Southern Ocean, Aoshun, Dragon King of the Northern Ocean, and Aorun, Dragon King of the Western Ocean. Yeah, he's being kind of a prick, isn't he? Old Monkey is not going to their places, said Wukong, for as the common saying goes, 3 in bond can't compete with 2 in hand. I'm merely requesting that you find something casual here and give it to me. That's all. There's no need for the High Immortal to go anywhere, said the Dragon King. I have in my palace an iron drum and a golden bell. Whenever there is any emergency, we beat the drum and strike the bell, and my brothers are here shortly. In that case, said Wukong, go beat the drum and strike the bell. The Turtle General went at once to strike the bell, while the Tortoise Marshal came to beat the drum. Soon after the drum and the bell... yeah, it's so weird about that, isn't it? I mean, he's mugging people for their stuff. It's kind of uncouth. Soon after the drum and the bell had sounded, the Dragon Kings of the 3 oceans got the message and arrived promptly, all congregating in the outer courtyard. Elder brother, said Aokin, what emergency made you beat the drum and strike the bell? Good brother, answered the old dragon, it's a long story. We have here a certain heaven-born sage from the Flower Fruit Mountain who came here and claimed to be my near neighbor. He subsequently demanded a weapon. The steel fork I presented he deemed too small, and the halberd I offered too light. Finally, he himself took that piece of rare divine iron, by which the depth of the heavenly river was fixed, and used it for mock combat. He is now sitting in the palace, and also demanding some sort of battle dress. We have none of that here, so we sounded the drum and the bell to invite you all to come. If you happen to have some such outfit, please give it to him so that I can send him out of this door. When Aokin heard this, he was outraged. Let us brothers call our army together, he said, and arrest him. What's wrong with that? Don't talk about arresting him, the old dragon said. Don't talk about arresting him. That piece of iron, a small stroke with it is deadly, and a light tap is fatal. The slightest touch will crack the skin, and a small rap will injure the muscles. Grim. Aorun, the Dragon King of the Western Ocean, said, Second elder brother should not raise his hand against him. Let us rather assemble an outfit for him and get him out of this place. We can then present a formal complaint to heaven, and heaven will send its own punishment. You are right, said Aoshun, the Dragon King of the Northern Ocean. I have here a pair of cloud-treading shoes, the color of lotus root. Aorun, the Dragon King of the Western Ocean, said, I brought along a cuirass of chainmail made of yellow gold. And I have a cap with erect phoenix plumes made of red gold, said Aokin, the Dragon King of the Southern Ocean. The old Dragon King was delighted, and brought them into the Water Crystal Palace to present the gifts. Wukong duly put on the gold cap, the gold cuirass, and cloud-treading shoes, and, wielding his compliant rod, he fought his way out in mock combat, yelling to the dragons, "Sorry to have bothered you!" The dragon kings of the four oceans were outraged, and they consulted together about filing a formal complaint, of which we make no mention here. You don't need to know about that. Look at that Monkey King. He opened up the waterway and went straight back to the head of the sheet iron bridge. The four old monkeys were leading the other monkeys and waiting beside the bridge. They suddenly beheld Wukong leaping out of the waves. There was not a drop of water on his body as he walked onto the bridge, all radiant and golden. The various monkeys were so astonished that they all knelt down, crying, "Great King, what marvels! What marvels!" Beaming broadly, Wukong ascended his high throne and set up the iron rod right in the center. Not knowing any better, the monkeys all came and tried to pick the treasure up. It was rather like a dragonfly attempting to shake an ironwood tree. They could not budge it an inch. Biting their fingers and sticking out their tongues, every one of them said, "Oh, Father, it's so heavy. How did you ever manage to bring it here?" Wukong walked up to the rod, stretched forth his hands, and picked it up. Laughing, he said to them, "Everything has its owner. This treasure has presided in the ocean treasury for who knows how many thousands of years, and it just happened to glow recently. The Dragon King only recognized it as a piece of black iron, though it is also said to be the divine rarity which fixed the bottom of the heavenly river. All these fellows together could not lift or move it, and they asked me to take it myself. At first, this treasure was more than 20 feet long and as thick as a barrel. After I struck it once and expressed my feeling that it was too large, it grew smaller. I wanted it smaller still, and again it grew smaller. For a third time I commanded it, and it grew smaller still. When I looked at it in the light, it had on it the inscription, 'The compliant golden hooped rod, weight 13,500 pounds. Stand aside, all of you. Let me ask it to go through some more transformations.' He held the treasure in his hands and cried out, 'Smaller, smaller, smaller!' And at once it shrank to the size of a tiny embroidery needle, small enough to be hidden inside the ear. Awestruck, the monkeys cried, 'Great King, take it out and play with it some more.' The Monkey King took it out from his ear and placed it on his palm. You and me both. 'Bigger, bigger, bigger!' he shouted, and again it grew to the thickness of a barrel and more than 20 feet long. He became so delighted playing with it that he jumped onto the bridge and walked out of the cave. Grasping the treasure in his hands, he began to perform the magic of cosmic imitation. Bending over, he cried, 'Grow!' and at once grew to be 10,000 feet tall, with a head like the Tai Mountain and a chest like a rugged peak, eyes like lightning and a mouth like a blood bowl, and teeth like swords and halberds. The rod in his hands was of such a size that its top reached the 33rd heaven and its bottom the 18th layer of hell. Tigers, leopards, wolves, and crawling creatures, all the monsters of the mountain, and the demon kings of the 72 caves, were so terrified that they kowtowed and paid homage to the Monkey King in fear and trembling. Presently, he revoked his magical appearance and changed the treasure back into a tiny embroidery needle stored in his ear. He returned to the cave dwelling, but the demon kings of the various caves were still frightened, and they continued to come to pay their respects. At this time the banners were unfurled, the drums sounded, and the brass gong struck loudly. A great banquet of 100 delicacies was given, and the cups were filled to overflowing with the fruit of the vines and the juices of the coconut. They drank and feasted for a long time, and they engaged in military exercises as before. The Monkey King made the 4 old monkeys mighty commanders of his troops by appointing the 2 female monkeys with red buttocks as marshals Ma and Liu, and the 2 bareback gibbons as generals Beng and Ba. The 4 mighty commanders, moreover, were entrusted with all matters concerning fortification, pitching camps, reward, and punishment. Having settled all this, the Monkey King felt completely at ease to soar on the clouds and ride the mist, to tour the four seas and disport himself in 1,000 mountains. Displaying his martial skill, he made extensive visits to the various heroes and warriors. Performing his magic, he made many good friends. At this time, moreover, he entered into a fraternal alliance with 6 other monarchs: the Bull Monster King, the Dragon Monster King, the Garuda Monster King, the Giant Lynx King — he's not a monster, notice — the Macaque King, and the Orangutan King. Oh, it's all good. I had presumed you were still there, but it's not on me to impose on you, dude. Together with the handsome Monkey King, they formed a fraternal order of 7. Day after day, they discussed civil and military arts, exchanged wine cups and goblets, sang and danced to songs and strings. Just imagine this lynx singing and dancing. Granny sorter. Actually, that sounds like some kind of weird device that one of us would build. You know, you put all your stuff in the granny sorter and it comes out granny sorted. They gathered in the mornings and parted in the evening. There was not a single pleasure that they overlooked, covering a distance of 10,000 miles, as if it were but the span of their own courtyard. As the saying has it, one nod of the head goes farther than 3,000 miles. One twist of the torso covers more than 800. One day, the 4 mighty commanders had been told to prepare a great banquet in their own cave, and the 6 kings were invited to the feast. They killed cows and slaughtered horses. They sacrificed to heaven and earth. The various imps were ordered to dance and sing, and they all drank until they were thoroughly drunk. After sending the 6 kings off, Wukong also rewarded the leaders great and small with gifts. Reclining in the shade of pine trees near the sheet iron bridge, he fell asleep in a moment. The 4 mighty commanders led the crowd to form a protective circle around him, not daring to raise their voices. In his sleep, the handsome Monkey King saw 2 men approach with a summons with the 3 characters Sun Wukong written on it. They walked up to him and, without a word, tied him up with rope and dragged him off. The soul of the handsome Monkey King was reeling from side to side. Maybe that Minecraft thing has buttons, and then you'd be set. They reached the edge of a city. The Monkey King was gradually coming to himself when he lifted up his head and suddenly saw above the city an iron sign bearing in large letters the 3 words, Region of Darkness. The handsome Monkey King at once became fully conscious. The region of darkness is the abode of Yama, King of Death, he said. Why am I here? Your age in the world of life has come to an end, the 2 men said. The 2 of us were given this summons to arrest you. When the Monkey King heard this, he said, I, Old Monkey King, Old Monkey himself, have transcended the 3 regions and the 5 phases. Hence I am no longer under Yama's jurisdiction. Why is he so confused that he wants to arrest me? The 2 summoners paid scant attention. Yanking and pulling, they were determined to haul him inside. Growing angry, the Monkey King whipped out his treasure. One wave of it turned it into the thickness of a rice bowl. He raised his hands once, and the 2 summoners were reduced to hash. Oh. Yeah, it's only saying that as well. The stats are a little bit weird. I'm not too troubled. But also, she's got special magic powers as a moderator, so maybe she shows up differently. He untied the rope, freed his hands, and fought his way into the city, wielding the rod. Bull-headed demons hid in terror, and horse-faced demons fled in every direction. A band of ghost soldiers ran up to the Palace of Darkness, crying, Great kings! Disaster! Disaster! Outside there's a hairy-faced thunder god fighting his way in. The report alarmed the 10 kings of the underworld so much that they quickly straightened out their attire and went out to see what was happening. Discovering a fierce and angry figure, They lined up according to their ranks and greeted him with loud voices. I mean, it's calculating weird stats, and as long as, these things keep crawling upwards, I'm easy. I'm not going to worry about it too much. And yeah, I don't know if there's any alternatives to Twitch either. Probably not something they'd like us to discuss on Twitch, ironically. Hi, Immortal. Tell us your name. Hi, Immortal. Tell us your name. I am the heaven-born sage Sun Wukong from the Water Curtain Cave in the... Yeah, kick is out. I'm sort of posting things on YT, but I haven't bothered with it too much. And I don't know how I feel about TikTok yet, but we'll get back to that one in time. I don't know that yeah. And there's a bunch of like smaller streaming services and whatnot, but well, we'll play it by ear. For now, we'll deal with this one, I think. I am the heaven-born sage Sun Wukong from the Water Curtain Cave in the Flower Fruit Mountain, said the Monkey King. What kind of officials are you? We are the Emperors of Darkness, answered the 10 kings, bowing. The 10 kings of the underworld. Tell me each of your names at once, said Wukong, or I'll give you a drubbing. The 10 kings said, We are King Guan, King of the Beginning River, King of the Song Emperor, King of Avenging Ministers, King Yama, King of Equal Ranks, King of the Tai Mountain, King of City Markets, King of the Complete Change, and King of the Turning Wheel. Since you have all ascended the thrones of kingship, said Wukong, you should be intelligent beings, responsible in rewards and punishments. Why are you so ignorant of good and evil? Old Monkey has acquired the Tao and attained immortality. I enjoy the same age as heaven, and I have transcended the 3 regions and leapt clear of the 5 phases. Why, then, did you send men to arrest me? High immortals, said the 10 kings, let your anger subside. There are many people in this world with the same name and surname. Could the summoners have made a mistake? Nonsense! Nonsense! said Wukong. The proverb says, officials err, clerks err, but the summoner never errs. Quick, bring out your register of births and deaths, and let me have a look. When the 10 kings heard this, they invited him to go up into the palace to see for himself. Holding his compliant rod, Wukong went straight up to the Palace of Darkness and, facing south, sat down in the middle. The 10 kings immediately had the judge in charge of the records bring out his books for examination. The judge, who did not dare tarry, hastened into a side room and brought out 5 or 6 books of documents and the ledgers on the 10 species of living beings. He went through them one by one, short-haired creatures, furry creatures, winged creatures, crawling creatures, and scaly creatures, but he did not find his name. He then proceeded to the file on monkeys. You see, though this monkey resembled a human being, he was not listed under the names of men. Though he resembled the short-haired creatures, he did not dwell in their kingdoms. Though he resembled other animals, he was not subject to the unicorn. And though he resembled flying creatures, he was not governed by the phoenix. He had, therefore, a separate ledger, which Wukong examined himself. Under the heading Soul 1350, he found the name Sun Wukong recorded with the description, Heaven-born stone monkey, age 342 years, a good end. Wukong said, I really don't remember my age. All I want is to erase my name. Bring me a brush. The judge hurriedly fetched the brush and soaked it in heavy ink. Wukong took the ledger on monkeys and crossed out all the names he could find in it. Throwing down the ledger, he said, That ends the account. That ends the account. Now I'm truly not your subject. Brandishing his rod, he fought his way out of the region of darkness. The 10 kings did not dare approach him. They went instead to the Green Cloud Palace to consult the Bodhisattva King Ksitigarbha, and made plans to report the incident to heaven, which does not concern us for the moment. Wow. He's making enemies. Like, whoa, huh? While our monkey king was fighting his way out of the city, he was suddenly caught in a clump of grass and stumbled. Waking up with a start, he realized that it was all a dream. As he was stretching himself, he heard the four mighty commanders and the various monkeys crying with a loud voice, "Great king, how much wine did you imbibe? You've slept all night long. Aren't you awake yet?" "Sleeping is nothing to get excited about," said Wukong, "but I dreamed that two men came to arrest me, and I didn't perceive their intention until they brought me to the outskirts of the region of darkness. Showing my power, I protested right up to the Palace of Darkness and argued with the 10 kings. I went through our ledger of births and deaths and crossed out all our names. Those fellas have no hold over us now." The various monkeys all kowtowed to express their gratitude. From that time onward, there were many mountain monkeys who did not grow old. Well, if that works. For their names were not registered in the underworld. When the handsome Monkey King finished his account of what had happened, the four mighty commanders reported the story to the demon kings of various caves, who all came to tender their congratulations. Only a few days had passed when the 6 sworn brothers also came to congratulate him, all of them delighted about the cancellation of the names. We shall not elaborate here on their joyful gathering. We shall turn instead to the great benevolent sage of heaven, the celestial jade emperor of the most venerable diva, who was holding court one day in the treasure hall of divine mists, the cloud palace of golden arches. The divine ministers, civil and military, were just gathering for the morning session when suddenly the Taoist immortal Qiu Hongzi announced, "Your Majesty, outside the translucent palace, Ao Guang, the dragon king of the Eastern Ocean, is awaiting your command to present a memorial to the throne." The Jade Emperor gave the order to have him brought forth, and Ao Guang was led into the Hall of Divine Mists. After he had paid his respects, a divine page boy in charge of documents received the memorial, and the Jade Emperor read it from the beginning. The memorial said, "From the lowly water regions of the Eastern Ocean at the East Purvavidaha continent, the small dragon subject, Ao Guang, humbly informs the wise Lord of Heaven, the most eminent high god and ruler, that a bogus immortal, ouch, Sun Wukong, born of the Flower Fruit Mountain and resident of the Water Curtain Cave, has recently abused your small dragon, gaining a seat in his water home by force. He demanded a weapon, employing power and intimidation. He asked for martial attire, unleashing violence and threats. He terrorized my water kinsmen and scattered turtles and tortoises. The dragon of the Southern Ocean trembled. The dragon of the Western Ocean was filled with horror. The dragon of the Northern Ocean drew back his head to surrender, and your subject Ao Guang flexed his body to do obeisance. We presented him with the divine treasure of an iron rod and the gold cap with phoenix plumes, giving him also a chainmail cuirass and cloud-treading shoes. We sent him off courteously, but even then he was bent on displaying his martial prowess and magical powers, and all he could say to us was, "Sorry to have bothered you." We are indeed no match for him, nor are we able to Woof. We are indeed no match for him, nor are we able to subdue him. Your subject, therefore, presents this petition and humbly begs for imperial justice. We earnestly beseech you to dispatch the heavenly host and capture this monster, so that tranquility may be restored to the oceans and prosperity to the lower regions. Thus we present this memorial. The thing you have to bear in mind, Mr. Crow, is if you start reading copyright material, you run afoul of getting strikes against you. Like, if you limit yourself to public domain writing, you're okay. I mean, nothing wrong with Stephen King, but he probably has more than a few lawyers if they catch wind of it. Well, actually, you'll notice specifically in the opening pages of any book, they're just specifically prevented from doing any sort of broadcast without their explicit permission. It's just boilerplate legalese, but it's worth taking a look. Hmm. All right, fair enough. Hey, you know your business. So, I that's interesting. Hmm. Well, I'm not that I'm planning on changing what I'm doing because I do have a taste for old literature, but we'll see. If there's if there winds up being demand for it or something, then we'll change things. But there's so much good stuff out there that it's worth. I don't know. And I suppose we're also it helps that I'm kind of small fry yet. Hmm. Excuse me. Back to where I was. When the whole hold on. When the holy emperor had finished reading, he gave the command: "Let the dragon god return to the ocean. We shall send our generals to arrest the culprit." I tended not to save most of my stuff anyway, but I mean, these things get copied over to YouTube. The old dragon king gratefully touched his forehead to the ground and left. From below, the immortal elder Gay, the celestial master, also brought forth the report. "Your Majesty, the Minister of Darkness, King Guang, supported by the Bodhisattva King Ksitigarbha, Pope of the Underworld, has arrived to present his memorial." The jade girl in charge of communication came from the side to receive this document. I'm going to have to close more doors shortly once I finish this chapter. Which the Jade Emperor had also read from the beginning. The memorial said, yeah, and that's what kind of was just thinking too. Pope of the Underworld. "The region of darkness is the nether region proper to earth. As heaven is for gods and earth for ghosts, so life and death proceed in cyclic succession. Fowls are born and animals die. Male and female they multiply. Births and transformations, the male begotten of the procreative female, such is the order of nature, and it cannot be changed. But now appears Sun Wukong, a heaven-born baneful monkey from the water-curtain cave in the flower-fruit mountain, who practices evil and violence and resists our proper summons. Exercising magic powers, he utterly defeated the ghostly messengers of ninefold darkness. Exploiting brute force, he terrorized the 10 merciful kings. He caused great confusion in the palace of darkness. He abrogated by force the register of names, so that the category of monkeys is now beyond control. An inordinately long life is given to the simian family. The wheel of transmigration is stopped, for birth and death are eliminated in each kind of monkey. Your poor monk, therefore, risks offending your heavenly authority in presenting this memorial. We humbly beg you to send forth your divine army and subdue this monster, to the end that life and death may once more be regulated and the underworld rendered perpetually secure. Respectfully, we present this memorial." When the Jade Emperor had finished reading, he again gave a command. "Let the Lord of Darkness return to the underworld. We shall send our generals to arrest this culprit." King Guang also touched his head to the ground gratefully and left. The great heavenly diva called together his various immortal subjects, both civil and military, and asked, "When was this baleful monkey born, and in which generation did he begin his career? How is it that he's become so powerfully accomplished in the way?" Scarcely had he finished speaking when, from the ranks, Thousand-Mile Eye and Fair Wind Ear stepped forward. "This monkey," they said, "is the heaven-born stone monkey of 300 years ago. At that time, he did not seem to amount to much, and we do not know where he acquired the knowledge of self-cultivation these last few years and became an immortal. Now he knows how to subdue dragons and tame tigers, and thus he is able to annul by force the register of death." "Which one of you divine generals," asked the Jade Emperor, "wishes to go down there to subdue him?" Scarcely had he finished speaking when the long-lived spirit of the planet Venus came forward from the ranks and prostrated himself. "Highest and holiest," he said, "within the three regions, all creatures endowed with the 9 apertures can, through exercise, become immortals. It is not surprising that this monkey, with a body nurtured by heaven and earth, a frame born of the sun and moon, should achieve immortality, seeing that his head points to heaven and his feet walk on earth, and that he feeds on the dew and the mist, now that he has the power to subdue dragons and tame tigers." So, no, it's not just taming tigers, you also have to subdue dragons. Siegfried and Roy got half of it right. They were working on the harder part. Now that he has the power to subdue dragons and tame tigers, how is he different from a human being? Your subject, therefore, makes so bold as to ask your majesty to remember the compassionate grace of creation and issue a decree of pacification. Let him be summoned to the upper region and given some kind of official duties. His name will be recorded in the register, and we can control him here. If he is receptive to the heavenly decree, he will be rewarded and promoted hereafter. But if he is disobedient to your command, we shall arrest him forthwith. Such an action will spare us a military expedition in the first place, and, in the second, permit us to receive into our midst another immortal in an orderly manner." The Jade Emperor was highly pleased with this statement, and he said, "We shall follow the counsel of our minister." He then ordered the Star Spirit of Songs and Letters to compose the decree. I tripped over that sentence, and delegated the Gold Star of Venus to be the Viceroy of Peace. Having received the decree, the Gold Star went out of the South Heaven Gate, lowered the direction of his hallowed cloud, and headed straight for the Flower Fruit Mountain and the Western Water Curtain Cave. He said to the various little monkeys, "I am the heavenly messenger sent from above. I have with me an imperial decree to invite your great king to go to the upper region. Report this to him quickly." The monkeys outside the cave passed the word along one by one until it reached the depth of the cave. "Great king," one of the monkeys said, "there's an old man outside bearing a document on his back. He says that he is a messenger sent from heaven, and he has an imperial decree of invitation for you." Upon hearing this, the handsome Monkey King was exceedingly pleased. "These last 2 days," he said, "I was just thinking about taking a little trip to heaven, and the heavenly messenger has already come to invite me." The Monkey King quickly straightened out his attire and went to the door for the reception. The Gold Star came into the center of the cave and stood still with his face toward the south. "I am the Gold Star of Venus from the west," he said. "I came down to earth, bearing the imperial decree of pacification from the Jade Emperor, and invite you to go to heaven to receive an immortal appointment." I mean, there's another 97 chapters after this, so one presumes, one hopes. Others is going to be a very long list of all the people that Wukong beats up. Laughing, Wukong said, "I am most grateful for the Old Star's visit." He then gave the order, "Little ones, prepare a banquet to entertain our guest." The Gold Star said, "As a bearer of imperial decree, I cannot remain here long. I must ask the great king to go with me at once. After your glorious promotion, we shall have many occasions to converse at our leisure." "We are honored by your presence," said Wukong. "I am sorry that you have to leave with empty hands." He then called the 4 mighty commanders together for this admonition. "Be diligent in teaching and drilling the young ones. Let me go up to heaven to take a look and to see whether I can have you all brought up there, too, to live with me." The 4 mighty commanders indicated their obedience. This Monkey King mounted the cloud with the Gold Star and rose up into the sky. Truly, he ascends the high rank of immortals from the sky, his name's enrolled in cloud columns and treasure scrolls. We do not know what sort of rank or appointment he received. Let's listen to the explanation in the next chapter. I'll be right back. Nearly lost my balance. All right, here I am. Why did I put my headset on? It's not like I'm monitoring myself. I'm very silly. Yeah, so like the windows hopefully have abated the sound. I don't suspect it got picked up, but all the same, it was something. Appointed a ban horse. Could he be content? Named equal to heaven, he's still not appeased. The gold star of Venus left the depths of the cave, dwelling with the one of those days. That's all right. I mean, ooh, you can hang. I'll be able to tell everybody that I know you, that you're that famous creator. That'll be awesome. The gold star of Venus left the depths of the cave dwelling with the handsome monkey king, and together they rose by mounting the clouds. But the cloud somersault of Wukong, you see, is no common magic. Its speed is tremendous. Soon he left the gold star far behind and arrived first at the South Heaven Gate. He was about to dismount from the cloud and go in when the Devaraja Virudaka, leading Pang, Liu, Ku, Bi, Deng, Xin, Zhang, and Tao, the various divine heroes, barred the way with spears, scimitars, swords, and halberds and refused him entrance. The Monkey King said, "What a deceitful fellow that gold star is. If old Monkey has been invited here, why have these people been ordered to use their swords and spears to bar my entrance?" He was protesting loudly when the gold star arrived in haste. "Old man," said Wukong angrily to his face, "why did you deceive me? You told me that I was invited by the Jade Emperor's decree of pacification. Why, then, did you get these people to block the heaven gate and prevent my entering?" "Let the great king calm down," the gold star said, laughing. "Since you have never been to the Hall of Heaven before, nor have you been given a name, you are quite unknown to the various heavenly guardians. How can they let you in on their own authority? Once you have seen the heavenly diva, received an appointment, and had your name listed in the immortal register, you can go in and out as you please. Who would then obstruct your way?" "If that's how it is," said Wukong, "it's all right. But I'm not going in by myself." "Then go in with me," said the gold star, pulling him by the hand. As they approached the gate, the gold star called out loudly, "Guardians of the heaven gate, lieutenants great and small, make way. This person is an immortal from the region below, whom I have summoned by the imperial decree of the Jade Emperor." As the Devaraja Virudaka and the various divine heroes immediately lowered their weapons and stepped aside, and the Monkey King finally believed what he had been told. He walked slowly inside with the gold star and looked around, for it was truly his first ascent to the region above, his sudden entrance into the Hall of Heaven, where 10,000 shafts of golden light whirled as a coral rainbow, and 1,000 layers of hallowed air diffused mist of purple. Look at that South Heaven Gate. Its deep shades of green from glazed tiles were made, its radiant battlements adorned with treasure jade. On two sides were posted scores of celestial sentinels, each of whom, standing tall beside the pillars, carried bows and clutched banners. Look at that gate. Just look at it. All around were sundry divine beings in golden armor, each of them holding halberds and whips, or wielding scimitars and swords. Impressive may be the outer court. Overwhelming is the sight within. In the inner halls stood several huge pillars, circled by red-whiskered dragons whose golden scales gleamed in the sun. There were, moreover, a few long bridges, above them crimson-headed phoenixes circled with soaring plumes of many hues. Bright mist shimmered in the light of the sky. Green fog descending obscured the stars. 33 heavenly mansions were found up here, with names like the Scattered Cloud, the Vaisravana, the Pansavidya, the Sumaya, the Nirmanarati. On the roof of every mansion, the ridge held a stately golden beast. There were also the 72 treasure halls, with names like the Morning Assembly, the Transcendent Void, the Precious Light, the Heavenly King, the Divine Minister. Just pausing briefly. Last night I read on something called Horror Vacui. In every hall beneath the pillars stood rows of the jade unicorn. On the platform of Canopus, there were flowers fading in 1,000 millennia, beside the oven for refining herbs. Yeah, I'll explain it after this poem. There were exotic grasses growing green for 10,000 years. He went before the tower of homage to the sage, where he saw robes of royal purple gauze, brilliant as stars refulgent. Caps, the shape of hibiscus, resplendent with gold and precious stones, and pins of jade and shoes of pearl, and purple sashes and golden ornaments. When the golden bells swayed to their striking, the memorial of the 3 judges would cross the vermilion courtyard. When the drums of heaven were sounded, 10,000 sages of the royal audience would honor the Jade Emperor. He went, too, to the treasure hall of divine mists, where nails of gold penetrated frames of jade, and colorful phoenixes danced atop scarlet doors. Here were covered bridges and winding corridors, displaying everywhere open carvings most elegant, and eaves crowding together in layers 3 and 4, on each of which reared up phoenixes and dragons. There was, high above, a round dome, big, bright, and brilliant. Its shape, a huge gourd of purple gold, below which guardian goddesses hung out their fans, and jade maidens held up their immortal veils. Ferocious were the sky marshals overseeing the court. Dignified, the divine officials protecting the throne. There at the center, on a crystal platter, tablets of the great monad elixir were heaped, and rising out of the cornelian vases were several branches of twisting coral. So it was that rare goods of every order were found in heaven's hall, and nothing like them on earth could ever be seen. These golden arches, silver coaches, and that heavenly house, those coralline blooms and jasper plants with their buds of jade. The jade rabbit passed the platform to adore the king. The golden crow flew by to worship the sage. Blessed was the monkey king coming to this heavenly realm, he who is not mired in the filthy soil of man. So, I'll tell you about that. So you remember, there you go. You win. So cast your mind back to religious art, or actually a lot of really old art, how it tends to be very, very busy, right? There's no blanks, there's no voids or whatever. There's always something. Like if there's an angel, the wings themselves have like all the little feathers rendered, or like a Persian rug, how it's just really full of stuff. The idea here is that there was such a dislike of leaving anything empty that they would fill it in with like extraneous or extra detail or something. And that's horror vacui, the idea that no work of art should have any blankness anywhere. And so they had to give it a fancy name. Just to mix it up for my usual talk of like computational chemistry or whatnot. I know a little tiny bit about art as well. Yeah, fractals would be the mathematical expression of horror vacui, because no matter how deep you go, there's always more. Although that's me That's me extrapolating, I admit. Okay. Now, I mean, are they going to talk about a man who delivers strange things and is infatuated with morning meals? Because I guess that would be me. The gold star of Venus. I mean, with the golden crow, man. This is too much. The gold star of Venus led the handsome Monkey King to the treasure hall of divine mists, and without waiting for further announcement, they went into the imperial presence. While the star prostrated himself, Wukong stood erect by him. Showing no respect, he cocked his ear only to listen to the report of the gold star. "According to your decree," said the gold star, "your subject has brought the bogus immortal." "Which one is the bogus immortal?" asked the Jade Emperor graciously. Only then did Wukong bow and reply, "None other than Old Monkey." Blanching with horror, the various divine officials said, "That wild ape! Already he has failed to prostrate himself before the throne, and now he dares to come forward with such an insolent reply as none other than Old Monkey. He is worthy of death, worthy of death." "That fellow Sun Wukong is a bogus immortal from the region below," announced the Jade Emperor, "and he has only recently acquired the form of a human being. We shall pardon him this time for his ignorance of court etiquette." "Thank you, your majesty," cried the various divine officials. Only then did the Monkey King bow deeply with folded hands and utter a cry of gratitude. The Jade Emperor then ordered the divine officials, both civil and military, to see what vacant appointment there might be for Sun Wukong to receive. From the side came the star spirit of Wuku, who reported, "In every mansion and hall everywhere in the palace of heaven, there is no lack of ministers. Only at the imperial stables is a supervisor needed." "Let him be made a ban-horse plague," proclaimed the Jade Emperor. The various subjects again shouted their thanks, but Monkey only bowed deeply and gave a loud whoop of gratitude. The Jade Emperor then sent the star spirit of Jupiter to accompany him to the stables. The Monkey King went happily with the star spirit of Jupiter to the stables in order to assume his duties. After the star spirit had returned to his own mansion, the new officer gathered together the deputy and assistant supervisors, the accountants and stewards, and other officials, both great and small, and made thorough investigation of all the affairs of the stables. There were about 1,000 celestial horses, and they were all Hualius and Cheesies, Luers and Xianlis, consorts of dragons and purple swallows, folded wings and Sushangs, Dueties and silver hooves, Yaonios, that was hard, and flying yellows, chestnuts and faster than arrows, red hares and speedier than lights, leaping lights and vaulting shadows, rising frogs and triumphant yellows, wind chasers and distance breakers, flying pinions and surging airs, rushing winds and fiery lightnings, copper sparrows and drifting clouds, dragon-like piebalds and tiger-like pintos, dust quenchers and purple scales, and ferghanas from the four corners, like the 8 steeds and 9 stallions. They have no rivals within 1,000 miles. Such are these fine horses, every one of which neighs like the wind and gallops like thunder to show a mighty spirit. They tread the mist and mount the clouds with unflagging strength. Our Monkey King went through the lists and made a thorough inspection of the horses. Within the imperial stables, the accountants were in charge of getting supplies. The stewards groomed and washed the horses, chopped hay, watered them, and prepared their food. The deputies and assistants saw to the overall management. Never resting, the Bhima oversaw the care of the horses, fussing with them by day and watching over them diligently by night. Those horses that wanted to sleep were stirred up and fed. Those that wanted to gallop were caught and placed in the stalls. When the celestial horses saw him, they all behaved most properly, and they were so well cared for that their flanks became swollen with fat. More than half a month soon went by, and on one leisurely morning, the various department ministers gave a banquet to welcome and congratulate him. While they were drinking happily, the Monkey King suddenly put down his cap and asked, "What sort of rank is this ban-horse plague of mine?" "The rank and the title are the same," they said. "But what ministerial grade is it?" It does not have a grade, they said. If it does not have a grade, said the Monkey King, I suppose it must be the very highest. Not at all, they replied. It can only be called the unclassified. The Monkey King said, What do you mean by the unclassified? It is really the meanest level, they said. This kind of minister is the lowest of the low ranks, hence he can only look after horses. Take the case of your honor, who, since your arrival, have been so diligently in discharging your duties. If the horses are fattened, you will only earn yourself a fairly good. If they look at all thin, you will be roundly rebuked, and if they are seriously hurt or wounded, you will be prosecuted and fined. When the Monkey King heard this, fire leapt up from his heart. Hey, take care. So that's the contempt they have for old Monkey, he cried, angrily gnashing his teeth. At the Flower Fruit Mountain, I was honored as king and patriarch. How dare they trick me into coming to look after horses for them? If horse tending is such a menial service, reserved only for the young and lowly, is such treatment worthy of me? I'm quitting! I'm leaving right now! With a crash, he kicked over his official desk and took the treasure out of his ear. One wave of his hand and it had the thickness of a rice bowl. Delivering blows in all directions, he fought his way out of the imperial stables and went straight to the South Heaven gate. I don't imagine anybody was resisting him. He's just like, I'm going to smack everything. The various celestial guardians, knowing that he had been officially appointed a ban horse plague, did not dare stop him and allowed him to fight his way out of the Heaven gate. In a moment, he lowered the direction of his cloud and returned to Flower Fruit Mountain. The four mighty commanders were seen drilling troops with the monster kings of various caves. Little ones, this Monkey King cried in a loud voice, Old Monkey has returned. The flock of monkeys all came to kowtow and received him into the depths of the cave dwelling. As the Monkey King ascended his throne, they busily prepared a banquet to welcome him. Receive our congratulations, great king, they said. Having gone to the region above for more than 10 years, you must be returning in success and glory. I have been away for only half a month, said the Monkey King. How can it be more than 10 years? All right. Great king, said the various monkeys, you are not aware of time and season when you are in heaven. 1 day in heaven above is equal to a year on earth. May we ask the great king what ministerial appointment he received? I mean, I could believe that. I probably would too, come to think of it. Don't mention that! Don't mention that, said the Monkey King, waving his hand. It embarrasses me to death. That Jade Emperor does not know how to use talent. Seeing the features of Old Monkey, he appointed me to something called the Ban Horse Plague, which actually means taking care of horses for him. It's a job too low even to be classified. I didn't know this when I first assumed my duties, so I managed to have some fun at the imperial stables. But when I asked my colleagues today, I discovered what a degraded position it was. I was so furious that I knocked over the banquet they were giving me and rejected the title. That's why I came back down. Welcome back, said the various monkeys. Welcome back. Our great king can be the sovereign of this blessed cave dwelling with the greatest honor and happiness. Why should he go away to be someone's stable boy? Little ones, they cried, send up the wine quickly and cheer up our great king. As they were drinking wine and conversing happily, someone came to report. Great king, there are 2 one-horned demon kings outside who want to see you. Show them in, said the Monkey King. The demon kings straightened out their attire, ran into the cave, and prostrated themselves. Why did you want to see me? Asked the handsome Monkey King. We have long heard that the great king is receptive to talents, said the demon kings, but we have had no reason to request your audience. Now we learn that our great king has received a divine appointment and has returned in success and glory. We have come, therefore, to present the great king with a red and yellow robe for his celebration. If you are not disdainful of the uncouth and the lowly and are willing to receive us plebeians, we shall serve you as dogs or as horses. Highly pleased, the Monkey King put on the red and yellow robe while the rest of them lined up joyfully and did homage. He then appointed the Demon Kings to be the vanguard commanders, marshals of the forward regiments. After expressing their thanks, the demon kings asked again, "Since our great king was in heaven for a long time, may we ask what kind of appointment he received?" "The Jade Emperor belittles the talented," said the Monkey King. "He only made me something called the Ban Horse Plague." Hearing this, the demon kings said again, "Great king has such divine powers. Why should you take care of horses for him? What is there to stop you from assuming the rank of the great sage equal to heaven?" When the Monkey King heard these words, he could not conceal his delight, shouting repeatedly, "Bravo! Bravo!" Oh, they're pumping his ego. "Make me a banner immediately," he ordered the 4 mighty commanders, "and inscribe on it in large letters, 'The great sage equal to heaven.' Erect a pole to hang it on." This should be good. "From now on, address me only as great sage equal to heaven, and the title great king will no longer be permitted. The monster kings of the various caves will also be informed so that it will be known to all. Of this we shall speak no further." We now refer to the Jade Emperor, who held court the next day. The celestial master Zhang was seen leading the deputy and the assistant of the choo-choo Hubis train and the assistant of the imperial stables to come before the vermilion courtyard. "Your Majesty," they said, prostrating themselves, "the newly appointed Ban Horse Plague, Sun Wukong, objected to his rank as being too low and left the heavenly palace yesterday in rebellion." Meanwhile, the Devaraja, Virudaka, leading the various celestial guardians from the South Heaven Gate, also made the report. "The Ban Horse Plague, for reasons unknown to us, has walked out of the Heaven Gate." When the Jade Emperor heard this, he made the proclamation, "Let the 2 divine commanders and their followers return to their duties. We shall send forth celestial soldiers to capture this monster." From among the ranks, Devaraja Li, who was the pagoda bearer, and his 3rd prince Nata came forward and presented their request, saying, "Your Majesty, though your humble subjects are not gifted, we await your authorization to subdue this monster." Delighted, the Jade Emperor appointed pagoda bearer Devaraja Li Jing to be Grand Marshal for subduing the monster, and promoted 3rd Prince Nata to be the great deity in charge of the 3-platform assembly of the saints. They were to lead an expeditionary force at once for the region below. Devaraja Li and Nata kowtowed to take leave and went back to their own mansion. After reviewing the troops and their captains and lieutenants, they appointed Mighty Spirit God to be vanward commander, the Fish Belly General to bring up the rear, and the General of the Yakshas to urge the troops on. In a moment, they left by the South Heaven Gate and went straight to the Flower Fruit Mountain. A level piece of land was selected for encampment, and the order was then given to the Mighty Spirit God to provoke battle. Having received his order, and having buckled and knotted his armor properly, the Mighty Spirit God grasped his spreading flower axe and came to the Water Curtain Cave. There, in front of the cave, he saw a great mob of monsters, all of them wolves, insects, tigers, leopards, and the like. They were all jumping and growling, brandishing their swords and waving their spears. "Damnable beasts!" shouted the Mighty Spirit God. "Hurry and tell the Ban Horse Plague that I, a great general from heaven, have by the authorization of the Jade Emperor come to subdue him. Tell him to come out quickly and surrender, lest all of you be annihilated." Running pell-mell into the cave, those monsters shouted the report, "Disaster! Disaster!" "What sort of disaster?" asked the Monkey King. "There's a celestial warrior outside," said the monsters, "who claims the title of an imperial envoy. He says he came by the holy decree of the Jade Emperor to subdue you, and he orders you to go out quickly and surrender, lest we lose our lives." Hearing this, the Monkey King commanded, "Get my battle dress." He quickly donned his red gold cap, pulled on his yellow gold cuirass, slipped on his cloud-treading shoes, and seized the compliant golden hooped rod. He led the crowd outside and set them up in battle formation. The Mighty Spirit God opened wide his eyes and stared at this magnificent Monkey King. The gold cuirass worn on his body was brilliant and bright. The gold cap on his head also glistened in the light. Excuse me. In his hands was a staff, the golden hooped rod, that well became the cloud-treading shoes on his feet. His eyes glowered strangely like burning stars. Hanging past his shoulders were 2 ears, forked and hard. His remarkable body knew many ways of change, and his voice resounded like bells and chimes. This band-horse plague, with beaked mouth and gaping teeth, aimed high to be the equal to the heaven sage. Lawless ape, the mighty spirit god roared powerfully. Do you recognize me? When the great sage heard these words, he asked quickly, What sort of dull-witted deity are you? Old Monkey has yet to meet you. State your name at once. Fraudulent Simeon, cried the mighty spirit, what do you mean you don't recognize me? I am the celestial general of the mighty spirit, the vanward commander and subordinate to Devaraja Li, the pagoda bearer from the divine Empyrean. I have come by the imperial decree of the Jade Emperor to receive your submission. Strip yourself of your apparel immediately and yield to the heavenly grace, so that this mountain full of creatures can avoid execution. If you dare but utter half a no, you will be reduced to powder in seconds. When the Monkey King heard these words, he was filled with anger. Reckless simpleton, he cried, stop bragging and wagging your tongue. I would have killed you with one stroke of my rod, but then I would have no one to communicate my message. So, I'll spare your life for the moment. Go back to heaven quickly and inform the Jade Emperor that he has no regard for talent. Old Monkey has unlimited abilities. Why did he ask me to mind horses for him? Take a good look at the words on this banner. If I am promoted according to its title, I will lay down my arms and the cosmos will then be fair and tranquil. But if he does not agree to my demand, I'll fight my way up to the treasure hall of divine mists, and he won't even be able to sit on his dragon throne. When the mighty spirit god heard these words, he opened his eyes wide, facing the wind, and saw indeed a tall pole outside the cave. On the pole hung a banner bearing in large letters the words, The Great Sage, Equal to Heaven. The mighty spirit god laughed scornfully 3 times and jeered, Lawless ape! How fatuous can you be, and how arrogant! So you want to be the great sage, equal to heaven? Be good enough to take a bit of my axe first. Aiming at his head, he hacked at him, but being a knowledgeable fighter, the Monkey King was not unnerved. He met the blow at once with his golden hooped rod, and this exciting battle was on. The rod was named Compliant, the axe was called Spreading Flower. The 2 of them, meeting suddenly, did not yet know their weakness or strength. But axe and rod clashed left and right. One concealed secret powers most wondrous, the other vaunted openly his vigor and might. They used magic, blowing out clouds and puffing up fog. They stretched their hands, splattering mud and spraying sand. The might of the celestial battler had its way, but the monkey had boundless power of change. The rod uplifted, a dragon played in water. The axe arrived, a phoenix sliced through flowers. Mighty spirit, whose name spread through the world, in prowess truly could not match the other one. The great sage, whirling lightly his iron staff, could numb the body with one blow on the head. The mighty spirit god could oppose him no longer and allowed the Monkey King to aim a mighty blow at his head, which he hastily sought to parry with his axe. With a crack, the axe handle split in 2, and the mighty spirit turned swiftly to flee for his life. Imbecile! Imbecile! Laughed the Monkey King. I've already spared you. Go and report my message at once. Back at the camp, the mighty spirit god went to see the pagoda bearer Devaraja. Huffing and puffing, he knelt down, saying, The ban-horse plague indeed has great magic powers. Your unworthy warrior cannot prevail against him. Defeated, I have come to beg your pardon. This fellow has blunted our will to fight, said Devaraja Ali angrily. Take him out and have him executed. From the side came Prince Nata, who said, bowing deeply, Let your anger subside, Father King, and pardon for the moment the guilt of mighty spirit. Permit your child to go into battle once, and we shall know the long and short of the matter. I need to assess his power, you know? The Devaraja heeded the admonition and ordered Mighty Spirit to go back to his camp and await trial. This Prince Nata, properly armed, leaped from his camp and dashed to the water curtain cave. Wukong was just dismissing his troops when he saw Nata approaching furiously. "Dear Prince!" Two boyish tufts barely cover his skull. His flowing hair has yet to reach the shoulders. A rare mind, alert and intelligent. A noble frame, pure and elegant. He is indeed the unicorn's son from heaven above, truly immortal as the phoenix of mist and smoke. This seed of dragon has by nature uncommon features. His tender age shows no relation to any worldly kin. He carries on his body 6 kinds of magic weapons. He flies, he leaps, he can change without restriction. Now, by the golden mouth proclamation of the Jade Emperor, he is appointed to the assembly. Its name, the 3 platforms. Glad to see you're here. This will get moved over to YouTube as well, so if you want to get caught up, you can definitely play it back later. But yeah, welcome back. I feel like maybe I need to message you directly or something. Anyway, it's all good. Wukong drew near and asked, "Whose little brother are you? And what do you want barging through my gate?" "Lawless, monstrous monkey," shouted Nata. "Don't you recognize me? I am Nata, 3rd son of the Pagoda Bearer Devaraja. I am under the imperial commission of the Jade Emperor to come and arrest you." "Little prince," said Wukong, laughing, "your baby teeth haven't even fallen out, and your natal hair is still damp. How dare you talk so big? I'm going to spare your life, and I won't fight you. Just take a look at the words on my banner and report them to the Jade Emperor above. Grant me this title, and you won't need to stir your forces. I will submit on my own. If you don't satisfy my cravings, I will surely fight my way up to the treasure hall of divine mists." Lifting his head to look, Nata saw the words, "Great Sage, equal to heaven." Well, to be precise, he was given the job of overseeing the celestial stable muckers, but yeah. "What great power does this monstrous monkey possess," said Nata, "that he dares claim such a title? Fear not! Swallow my sword!" "I'll just stand here quietly, and you can take a few hacks at me with your sword." Young Nata grew angry. "Change!" he yelled loudly, and he changed at once into a fearsome person having 3 heads and 6 arms. In his hands he held 6 kinds of weapons: a monster stabbing sword, a monster cleaving scimitar, a monster binding rope, a monster taming club, an embroidered ball, and a fiery wheel. Brandishing these weapons, he mounted a frontal attack. "This little brother does know a few tricks," said Wukong, somewhat alarmed by what he saw. "But don't be rash. Watch my magic." "Dear great sage!" He shouted, "Change!" and he too transformed himself into a creature with 3 heads and 6 arms. One wave of the golden hooped rod, and it became 3 staffs, which were held with 6 hands. The conflict was truly earth-shaking and made the very mountains tremble. What a battle! The 6-armed Prince Nata, the heaven-born, handsome stone monkey king, each met his match, and found each to be from the same source. One was consigned to come down to earth, the other in guile disturbed the universe. The edge of the monster-stabbing sword was quick. The keen monster-cleaving scimitar alarmed demons and gods. The monster-binding rope was like a flying snake. The monster-taming club was like the head of a wolf. Arrgh. The lightning-propelled fiery wheel was like darting flames. Hither and thither the embroidered ball rotated. The 3 compliant rods of the great sage protected the front and guarded the rear with care and skill. A few rounds of bitter contest revealed no victor, but the prince's mind would not so easily rest. He ordered the 6 kinds of weapons to change into hundreds and thousands of millions, aiming for the head. The Monkey King, undaunted, roared with laughter loud and wielded his iron rod with artful ease. One turned to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, filling the sky as a swarm of dancing dragons, and shocked the monster king of sundry caves into shutting their doors. Demons and monsters all over the mountain hid their heads. The angry breath of divine soldiers was like oppressive clouds. The golden-hooped iron rod whizzed like the wind. On this side, the battle cries of celestial fighters appalled everyone. On that side, the banner waving of monkey monsters startled each person. Growing fierce, the two parties both willed a test of strength. We know not who was stronger and who was weaker. I mean, we're in chapter 4, and it's already like 10,000 gods fighting each other. Each displaying his divine powers, the third prince and Wukong battled for 30 rounds. The 6 weapons of that prince changed into 1,000 and 10,000 pieces, the gold-hooped rod of Sun Wukong into 10,000 and 1,000. They clashed like raindrops and meteors in the air, but victory or defeat was not yet determined. Wukong, however, proved to be the one swifter of eye and hand. Right in the midst of the confusion, he plucked a piece of hair and shouted, "Change!" It changed into a copy of him, also wielding a rod in its hands and deceiving Nata. His real person leaped behind Nata and struck his left shoulder with the rod. Nata, still performing his magic, heard the rod whizzing through the air and tried desperately to dodge it. Unable to move quickly enough, he took the blow and fled in pain. Breaking off his magic and gathering up his 6 weapons, he returned to his camp in defeat. That would be some pretty impressive CGI, and I don't know if that game ever would hit that height. You know what I mean? Standing in front of his battle line, Devaraja Li saw what was happening and was about to go to his son's assistants. The prince, however, came to him first and gasped, "Father King, the ban-horse plague is truly powerful. Even your son of such magical strength is no match for him. He has wounded me in the shoulder." "If this fellow is so powerful," said the Devaraja, turning pale with fright, "how can we beat him?" The prince said, "In front of his cave, he has set up a banner bearing the words, 'The Great Sage, equal to heaven.' By his own mouth, he boastfully asserted that if the Jade Emperor appointed him to such a title, all troubles would cease. If he were not given this name, he would surely fight his way up to the treasure hall of divine mists." "If that's the case," said the Devaraja, "let's not fight with him for the moment. Let us return to the region above and report these words. There will be time then for us to send for more celestial soldiers and take this fellow on all sides." The prince was in such pain that he could not do battle again. He therefore went back to heaven with the Devaraja to report, of which we speak no further. "Look at that monkey king returning to his mountain in triumph. The monster kings of 72 caves and the 6 sworn brothers all came to congratulate him, and they feasted jubilantly in the blessed cave dwelling." He then said to the 6 brothers, "If little brother is now called the Great Sage, equal to heaven, why don't all of you assume the title of Great Sage also?" "Our worthy brother's words are right," shouted the bull monster king from their midst. "I'm going to be called the Great Sage, parallel with heaven." "I shall be called the Great Sage, united with heaven," said the Garuda monster king. "I shall be called Great Sage, mover of mountains," said the giant lynx king. "I shall be called the telltale Great Sage," said the macaque king. "And I shall be called the god-routing Great Sage," said the orangutan king. At that moment, the 7 great sages had complete freedom to do as they pleased and to call themselves whatever titles they liked. They had fun for a whole day and then dispersed. Well, now, to be fair, Montrez, he got hit with the compliant great staff, which is basically capable. It gibbed a ghost with one touch. It can kill people if you nick them. It also weighs like 13,500 pounds. It is a hella powerful weapon. Now, we return to the Devaraja Li and the third prince, who, leading the other commanders, went straight to the treasure hall of divine mists to give this report. By your holy decree, your subjects led the expeditionary force down to the region below to subdue the baneful immortal Sun Wukong. We had no idea of his enormous power, and we could not prevail against him. We beseech your majesty to give us reinforcements to wipe him out. How powerful can we expect one baneful monkey to be? Asked the Jade Emperor, that reinforcements are needed. May your majesty pardon us from an offense worthy of death, said the prince, drawing closer. That baneful monkey wielded an iron rod. He defeated first the mighty spirit god, and then wounded the shoulder of your subject. Outside the door of his cave, he set up a banner bearing the words, "The Great Sage equal to heaven." He said that if he were given such a rank, he would lay down his arms and come to declare his allegiance. If not, he would fight his way up to the treasure hall of divine mists. How dare this baneful monkey be so insolent? I love insolent as a word, exclaimed the Jade Emperor, astonished by what he heard. We must order the generals to have him executed at once. As he said this, the gold star of Venus came forward again from the ranks and said, That the baneful monkey knows how to make a speech, but he has no idea what's appropriate and what isn't. Even if reinforcements are sent to fight him, I don't think he can be subdued right away without taxing our forces. It would be better if your majesty were greatly to extend your mercy and proclaim yet another degree of pacification. Let him indeed be made the great sage equal to heaven. He will be given an empty title, in short, rank without compensation. What do you mean by rank without compensation? Said the Jade Emperor. The Gold Star said, His name will be Great Sage equal to heaven, but he will not be given any official duty or salary. We shall keep him here in heaven, so that we may put his perverse mind at rest and make him desist from his madness and arrogance. The universe will then be calm, and the oceans tranquil again. Hearing these words, the Jade Emperor said, We shall follow the counsels of our minister. He ordered the mandate to be made up, and the Gold Star to bear it hence. The Gold Star left through the south heaven gate once again, and headed straight for the Flower Fruit Mountain. Outside the water curtain cave, things were quite different from the way they had been the previous time. He found the entire region filled with the awesome and bellicose presence of every conceivable kind of monster, each one of them clutching swords and spears, wielding scimitars and staffs. Growling and leaping about, they began to attack the Gold Star the moment they saw him. You, chieftains, hear me, said the Gold Star. Let me trouble you to report this to your great sage. I am the heavenly messenger sent by the Lord above, and I bear an imperial decree of invitation. The various monsters ran inside to report. There is an old man outside who says that he is a heavenly messenger from the regions above, bearing a decree of invitation for you. Yeah, the heaven people are jerks. They really are. Welcome, welcome, said Wukong. He must be that Gold Star of Venus who came here last time. Although it was a shabby position they gave me when he invited me up to the regions above, I nevertheless made it to heaven once and familiarized myself with the ins and outs of the celestial passages. He has come again this time, undoubtedly with good intentions. He commanded the various chieftains to wave the banners and beat the drums, and to draw up the troops in receiving order. Leading the rest of the monkeys, the great sage donned his cap and his cuirass, over which he tossed the red and yellow robe, and slipped on the cloud shoes. He ran to the mouth of the cave, bowed courteously, and said in a loud voice, Please come in, old star. Forgive me for not coming out to meet you. The Gold Star strode forward and entered the cave. He stood facing south and declared, Now I inform the great sage, because the great sage has objected to the meanness of his previous appointment and removed himself from the imperial stables. The officials of that department, both great and small, reported the matter to the Jade Emperor. The proclamation of the Jade Emperor said at first, All appointed officials advance from lowly positions to exalted ones. Why should he object to that arrangement? This led to the campaign against you by Devaraja Lee and Nata. They were ignorant of the great sage's power and therefore suffered defeat. They reported back to heaven that you had set up a banner that made known your desire to be the great sage equal to heaven. The various martial officials still wanted to deny your request. It was this old man who, risking offense, pleaded the case of the great sage, so that he might be invited to receive a new appointment, and without the use of force. The Jade Emperor accepted my suggestion, hence I am here to invite you. I caused you trouble last time, said Wukong, laughing, and now I am again indebted to you for your kindness. Thank you, thank you. But is there really such a rank as Great Sage equal to heaven up there? I made certain that this title was approved, said the Gold Star, before I dared come with a decree. If there is any mishap, let this old man be held responsible. Wukong was highly pleased, but the Gold Star refused his earnest invitation to stay for a banquet. He therefore mounted the hollowed cloud with the Gold Star and went to the South Heaven Gate, where they were welcomed by the celestial generals and guardians with hands folded at their breasts. Going straight into the treasure hall of divine mists, the Gold Star prostrated himself and memorialized, Your subject, by your decree, has summoned here Ban Horse Plague's son Wukong. Have that son Wukong come forward, said the Jade Emperor. I now proclaim you to be the great sage, equal to heaven, a position of the highest rank. But you must indulge no more in your preposterous behavior. Well, if they could mire him in bureaucracy, that would definitely keep him out of trouble, wouldn't it? Bowing deeply, the monkey uttered a great whoop of thanks. The Jade Emperor then ordered two building officials, Zhang and Liu, to erect the official residence of the great sage, equal to heaven, to the right of the Garden of the Immortal Peaches. That sounds nice. Inside the mansion, two departments were established, named Peace and Quiet and Serene Spirit, both of which were full of attending officials. The Jade Emperor also ordered the star spirits of 5 poles to accompany Wukong to assume his post. In addition, 2 bottles of imperial wine and 10 clusters of golden flowers were bestowed on him, with the order that he must keep himself under control and make up his mind to indulge no more in preposterous behavior. The Monkey King obediently accepted the command and went that day with the star spirits to assume his post. He opened the bottles of wine and drank them all with his colleagues. After seeing the star spirits off to their own palaces, he settled down in complete contentment and delight to enjoy the pleasures of heaven without the slightest worry or care. Truly, his name divine, forever recorded in the long life book, and kept from falling into samsara, will long be known. We do not know what took place hereafter. Let's listen to the explanation in the next chapter. We'll just look at the title, but that's where we're going to end it. Oh no! He got up to his preposterous behavior. I mean, well, it is the Monkey King, right? Well, that was definitely profitable today, wasn't it? You now get to hobnob with fancy Minecraft people, gee. But he's also a celestial bureaucrat, so when I don't know how the celestial bureaucracy works, it's true. These things are mystifying to me. It's not my nature to know them. But, yeah, so this whole, if you're interested, I mean, by default, the recording stays on for a week. I might just start saving these. And I've also been shooping them over to YouTube. At some point, I'll just organize another playlist and put it on there. I haven't put things on YouTube for a while. I don't know. This seems like it's decent. But mostly what you missed was you missed a bunch of preposterous behavior because his son Wukong. He's preposterous. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm about to hit the off button, and we have to go see about whether it really is corn or not, or whether those skewers are mostly chicken. Assuming you're up for it. All right. And in the words of a far wiser person than I. Good night, world.